My son Henry and I went to Tokyo last year. We went to a bunch of toy stores, and I realized at almost all of them, Godzilla was still featured. And it just struck me that there was this iconic monster that still, so many years later, had meaning to the culture. And I thought, you know, I wish that we had a monster like that.
I couldn't be more excited about doing this with you all, so thank you so much, and let's do it.
Nobody knows anything about this film. What you learn, what you suspect, anything you think you know, you agree to keep to yourself until the movie comes out.
The whole thing is very secret, right?
Very secret, very secret. In fact, at the end of the day, each day I have to burn my wardrobe.
It's difficult to make a secret movie nowadays because people know about it, people want to talk about it. And truth be told, if I wasn't working on this movie, this would be the first movie I'd want to find out about.
Day one. Here we go. It's interesting. We're trying to figure it all out. None of us have any clue what's happening, and somewhere in between a movie's going to happen.
The loft stuff was some of my favorite stuff because we got to improv a lot, and that was where you got to know the most about the characters.
Action!
Shooting this party scene, we're sort of just kind of developing our visual, I think, vocabulary for the movie.
It's a really different way of filmmaking. Very handheld. We're with one camera, so we don't have the luxury of shooting a master and coming in for the close-ups. We are having to get it all in one take.
It was like putting something together in a way where you hopefully don't notice the editing, that you just feel like, oh, well, this is just unfolding. This is just happening. There was no editing there.
It's designed so the audience doesn't see the edits. It's just one shot from the actor's camera.
Kevin Stitt, our editor, refers to it. This is like looking through a soda straw, and that's what you see, so that the scale of the movie could be huge, but that because what you were seeing was just through here, it didn't necessitate getting the shot of what was over there or over there.
It enabled us to sort of play peekaboo with the monster. You just want to reveal the monster in the first act or second act.
Tomorrow and the next day will get consistently a little bit later due to turnaround. So I'm going to come up to you, I'm going to get your name, and I'll give you your group, and remember what your group number is.
There's these great moments in the middle of the action where all of a sudden we have a flashback. Logically, there's been some sort of like mishap with the tape where it fast forwards a bit before it starts recording again, so you have these little inserts of what's being recorded over on the tape.
You suddenly can, without having to hide that it's video or pretend it's film, embrace that kind of technology and sort of use those limitations.
Well, this moment is just you filming him and Jason talking, right?
It's getting even more intense, you know? Which piece of equipment is the camera? Is this it? Okay, good. The entire film is shot from the perspective of me shooting, which was interesting for me to find out as a comedian, an actor, because I've never done camera work, really.
I don't know, man. That sounds like a lot of responsibility.
This is important. So you can blow it both as an actor and a cameraman. You have the opportunity to screw everything up for everyone 2 times.
Can you sense, audience, my feelings being hurt behind the camera?
Yeah, there was a tape in there. Did you switch it out?
A lot of getting these cameramen who were used to doing professional things into the film was to get them to do things less perfectly.
We had to make it look so like you could see what the director wanted to see, but make it look candid and by accident.
They had to sort of do method camera operation because they're used to sort of framing everything perfectly. And we'd say, well, you know, that looks too framed. And we dressed them in HUD's clothing.
He's the comedian of the group. I mean, he's the one who keeps it light the whole movie. And he's very much like that in real life. He's constantly keeping us laughing on set.
What's going on out here? I want to know right away.
Damn it.
Is there something going on that we should know about? Because I went through your drawers.
Just stop it!
One of the things to me that was interesting about the film was the idea of anticipation, the idea of dread. And that was really what the whole movie was about, was how do these people react to an incredibly unexpected, dire, and desperate situation.
There's this underlying fear that we all have every day that something else might happen at any moment. And to me, the idea of a monster movie, it allows people to experience that kind of fear safely.
What is it? Is it coming this way?
Matt, he's bringing something pretty unique to this kind of film, and he is just a special director and someone I hope to work with again.
No one was going to make this movie feel and exist as truthfully as Matt did.
So this is what's just happened. And now let's just look at the animation just for a second, because this will give you a sense.
It's the head of the Statue of Liberty.
what the hell is just happening? And they'll start to freak out about what's going on. Some people will be taking photographs of it, and then as this is all happening simultaneously, we hear an enormous roaring sound.
Roar! That is the big noise. You don't know what it is.
And at that moment, Hud will whip over this way. He happens to see something way in the distance. It pulls him over here.
What's that noise? Boom, shaking.
People are feeling shaking as if those same earthquakes are happening. And then suddenly there's a huge crackling explosion sound. And you all turn and see that a building down at the end of that canyon is basically imploding, collapsing on itself, and huge plumes of dust and debris are coming our way, and people on the street start to scatter, and our group ends up dashing into the bodega, except of course for Marlena, who is unfortunate enough not to get in.
We're doing a wall of dust. Basically, it's supposed to be the leading edge of the building exploding and collapsing, so we're going to have some smoke coming through the shot. Then we have some debris comes through, and then we have a lot of dust comes through at once to make this wall.
Those windows there are just going to actually explode. A lot of the extras and the actors also have to be completely covered in dust.
What time is it right now? 4 a.m.? This is usually what I do around 4 a.m. on weeknights, so it's not really that odd for me.
Yeah, do it! Just do it!
Do you hose us off at the end of the day, too?
Yeah. Do you feel like the non-dust people are treating you differently? We've had some things where...
We're just like you, you know? Like, the dust people are just like you.
Just go straight down the sidewalk.
Everybody's blood runs red.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Okay. And back to work.
What's great about working with JJ, for myself and what I find everyone who comes aboard, is that he's always kind of pushing everyone to do different things and to do things that you haven't seen before.
Brian Burke is one of those rare producers that'll step in and he has great ideas.
I step in, I step right out. You're fired.
All right, guys, first position, guys.
Is all the background that we were going to have over by the store there already?
Some of them are already here. The looters are already going to hang out.
The architecture downtown LA looks just like New York on a grand total of 2 streets from 2 different angles and maybe an alley.
I told you, this is a secret set, classified only. Your eyes cannot be here. Get the camera out of here.
The problem is the timing with the convoy, and we're going to practice the first time. Of course. Everybody's going to go 15, 20 miles an hour. Then I can build up the speed once I find out everything's safe.
We got Humvees. Check this out right now. Look over here.
Sorry, this is off limits, so
Oh, sorry. That freaked me out big time.
We're gonna have a lot of military cars working in this, and they're gonna be moving fast. So it's very important that everybody stays on the sidewalks at all times.
A lot of the research from this movie came from YouTube, looking at footage from 9/11, looking at amateur footage, and the chaos and messiness of those shots, and the alarming realness of that.
There's a new sort of familiarity with that kind of panic video.
Anything that sort of conveyed the feeling of what it was to be somebody actually documenting who's involved in the event.
If a monster did indeed attack your city, it would be captured by the people who are living it.
Any idea what's on
I don't care what you mean. She's done.
Camera. We're in San Pedro, just south of Los Angeles, and we're shooting at this giant warehouse where they've built an entire subway platform and tunnel set.
None of the subway was there. I mean, the only thing that was present in the subway platform was the track, which was used years ago when ships would come into the San Pedro shipyard.
This is really just a pad to absorb the shock when he throws the camera down on the ground.
We're using an air cannon. It's just basically pressurized air, and we put a bunch of cork into it and some dust. When we open up the valve, it blows everything downstairs. As you can see, it ended up down there. That's the simulated explosion.
You okay, man? All right.
One of the biggest challenges as an actor in this is maintaining a heightened level of fear and adrenaline. Part of it is just getting into a physical state where you're out of breath. I like jump rope or whatever we run around to try to get into that place. That actually helps, just the simple thing of breathing hard.
To walk in the tunnels?
The tunnels were interesting. We did work with live rats, which also wasn't the funnest. But how can you prepare for rats?
What we're doing today is training 20 rats to run in a group from point A to point B between these subway tracks. And we get them to run into these grates. We put a little light in the back of the boxes so they can find their way easily. And we put food and some Gatorade in there for them. There's supposed to be 2 actors in the scene. One of them is wearing an open-toed, high-heeled shoe, which is something we have to get the rats used to going past as well. What we're going to do is actually dirty them up just before we go to shoot with them so that they look like your typical sewer rat.
Dude, look at all.
It's New York. It's the subway. This is where we take cabs.
They're all going in the same direction.
I feel like you're running away.
From what?
One of the most exciting parts for me is just bringing something in front of a crew for the first time and just hearing everybody ooh and ah, and everybody wants to get their picture taken with it.
It's awesome.
We've gotten it done in just about 3 weeks, which is pretty fast for a creature this complex. So it's been a lot of late nights.
The idea of doing night vision in the film was giving us a way to see briefly, since they were in the dark, something that our characters couldn't see yet, that then one of the characters sees, and it sets them off into probably what is one of the scariest sequences of the film.
Hey, Rod, let's go right
We added some shake in the earlier, and if we add some shake, I think it's going to be great. Yeah.
We did that big parasite fight in the tunnels, and we completely did that reacting to nothing. I mean, there was nothing there. They brought puppeteers in, which I don't think they ended up using.
A point to turn over. We got there, and we had all these shots planned out that would use the puppet, and the moment we started doing it, those shots looked kind of goofy. This was my genius idea. I thought this was going to work, you know, magically. This was going to be the key because it's going to be reality, to actually be touching them and dealing with them. And I would say about an hour into that, we were like, that's not going to work. But one of the things that it did do for us is that it showed them what the creature looked like and what it was like when the jaw would come snatching at their faces or at their legs, and they would see the claws and all of those things. So in that sense, it was a great acting tool.
So you just have to pretend to hit him the whole time. So it's going to look a little something like this.
Okay, ready? Okay.
Ow! Jimmy, ow! You don't have to. No, hold on. You don't hit it. You don't hit it. You hit above it. You hit just above it.
Okay, let's do it again.
Because they'll green screen it.
Okay, one more time.
Right, let's do it. Wait, ow! Wait a second. Hold on. No, just swing above it. Just you hit the inside of the thigh though, and that's the part that hurts.
The parasite's not actually there, see? So it doesn't.
Yeah, but you're hitting my legs when you're doing it. You don't have to.
Nothing's happening.
They're using a computer.
That's pretty great. Good work, guys.
Get this camera out of here. This is a super secret movie. We cannot have cameras here. How many times do I have to tell you that?
There's a lot of stuff that we're filming today and tomorrow and the next day that is seriously top secret. It's the bulk of the movie. It's the stuff that we really want to keep hidden from the public. So I need your help to help keep the secret.
Show me your hands.
Military, the Army has rolled into Manhattan to defend New York City. This is the main command center. It's a department store that you've taken over for yourselves. There's a whole triage unit.
We have 50 military personnel, so we're preparing them for battle.
Battle with what?
That is the question of the day.
They're just scratches. I didn't get bitten, I just got scratched. So, I mean, they probably look pretty bad, but they're minor.
Action! Listen up, people! Rack 'em and pack 'em. We're Phantoms in 15.
I feel bad for Lizzie because she has to put these really thick blood drops into her eye. It looks really uncomfortable. Bleeding out of your eyes isn't good, apparently. You need to die in this movie. So.
We've got an air mortar here. We've got a piston on the air mortar that basically is pushing out the blood. The blood is made up of food coloring, Karo syrup, and chocolate syrup to give it some darkness. And we have little bits of cork to make it look like there's some innards coming out as well.
That's great. That's great.
Well, moving on, guys.
Moving on. Yeah!
We're
here at Warner Brothers, and we have dressed their New York street for our New York street. And looking down this direction, we have a blue screen, and we're going to have a set extension that we'll actually see further down the street. The sequence is, we call it the crossfire, and our characters are kind of coming in between a battle that's happening between the military, which you've seen all over here, these buildings up here, and Clover's off in the distance.
Today we're doing some battle scenes in the streets of New York. We got some National Guard units, reserve units, and they're out there fighting off the enemy, fighting their way through the streets block by block, firing machine guns, rockets, tanks, heavy caliber machine guns, and shooting everything we possibly can.
It was an already wrecked helicopter, and we knew kind of how we wanted the helicopter to be laid out and how it needed to be. It got really windy fast, so we ended up shooting inside the helicopter first, and then it calmed down at the end of the day, and we got our exterior shots. That was a really cool scene because it started out inside with a little, sort of handheld camera that Matt was operating that was supposedly dangling on the string, and then as he pulls Michael Stahl David out, we switched it over to the Viper, and Chris Hayes was the operator, and he was pulling Michael, and the thing was just swinging, and then he had to take the camera and lift it off his head and have it put down, and then have HUD run in like he had done it.
The 11th hour after everything was done, JJ had the idea of actually seeing the monster, really seeing the monster up close in a short amount of time from scratch. We had not planned for it, we had shot nothing for it, no elements for it, and they made the shot. Suddenly, you really got to see the monster in a way that you rarely get to see a monster.
Because of the single point of view, you can't see the monster as much as you normally would. And in fact, when you do, you can't do the 6 or 8 shots you would normally do in that scene. So suddenly you're limiting the amount of effects enormously.
Okay. All right. Got it. Let's cut.
And the monster eats me, and I die, And then we eat hamburgers.
We're down here at Downey Studios. Today we're doing my magnificent death on the Brooklyn Bridge that is not a Brooklyn Bridge, that's all green screen. I'm referencing all my past memories of New York right now. I actually have an entire mural painted, a 360-degree panning shot of However, I'm holding out for the fact that you don't necessarily see me die, so I'm coming back. Jason's holding onto an I-beam somewhere, and he's gonna swim it.
Let's go again.
We have a accelerator, decelerator unit here, and with Shauna, we have a harness on her. And the way this rig works is we take and fasten a cable at different levels on her body, and we hit a button, and it takes and flies her out of frame or through a window or wherever we want to send her.
Very cool, man. Let me quickly talk through what our action is going to be. Our actors are going to come up to the pinch point. They'll be stopped briefly, and then as they come up, this first helicopter will go up. Our actors will be brought over to the second helicopter over here, and Lily gets loaded in.
I mean, I've never even been on a helicopter before. I've never done anything that crazy. I felt like a real action star.
The moment that she's in there and harnessed and shut the door, as soon as possible, I want that helicopter to go.
Rick's going to start pulling. You're going to back up, so it's going to be 1001, 1002, 1003.
And then you turn.
And he should turn 4, 5, 6, and out of there.
We definitely got to experience the loudness, and the wind just kind of blew us back, and we weren't prepared for anything. And I think that they went with the first take when we were running up because we were all so genuinely nervous and scared and didn't know what was going to happen. They had this fake helicopter, and it was right when we crashed, and so we had to just throw our limbs everywhere, and I think somebody was shaking it a bit, but we literally had to scream bloody murder and throw our bodies everywhere.
We're in Beth's apartment. Her whole building on Columbus Circle in New York has tilted over and crashed into the building next to it. The hallway down has a definite funhouse effect where at a certain point, everybody who comes here, no matter who it is, when they get to a certain part of this hallway, you almost fall over.
Everybody said you need to be careful. You should walk up there first. You need to check it out because you will get dizzy. And I didn't believe them. I said, well, I'll be fine, I'll be fine. No, it was really crazy. And you really had to get used to it. I think a couple people had to take Dramamine because, you know, you just get thrown off.
You kind of get pulled into the apartment, and essentially there's an effect. If you had a marble, it would roll all the way down to where Beth is going to be trapped.
One of our actresses is supposed to be impaled on a piece of rebar, which is this metal that's found on construction sites. We wanted her to be able to act but stay still as if she was actually pinned. So we basically molded a cover that goes over her. This goes on another plate on the ground. That's locked in. Now she can't move. The rebar is stationary, and she's very comfortable inside here. She's actually laying on a nice padded support structure in the back here.
We did a second version of Marlena exploding because the first time it happened so fast that we wanted to try and slow it down.
All you gotta do is die one more time because it didn't work the first time.
It was so quick that you don't even realize it. And that was one of those fortunate situations where we did the pickup while we were still shooting. Like, if we had to go back down and re-ramp up and re-shoot it, it would have been significantly more difficult.
And I cannot wait to see you after we put it together so we can all look at what we've made. Thank you so much. Then we went to New York. We were sort of this scaled-down unit that went out there, and there was this kind of guerrilla excitement. And there was something about being on the streets of New York which sort of added a level of authenticity and excitement to the film.
We've moved from Paramount backlot to the actual street, which we're on Orchard Street in New York, Lower East Side. Behind me is the bottom of a destroyed building, which visual effects will take from the top of my rubble up, and in the end will be a building that's been completely destroyed and knocked over. And we've been able to come in about 4 hours and give yourself a destroyed building. So kind of getting the fine art of destruction down.
And now we only have 6 days to go, and I just hope when we're done that it feels like we shot the whole thing here.
We keep having all these code fake titles, and the latest one, Cheese, we didn't even make it through the day. We showed up and it was already leaked online, and people are showing up and they know that we're shooting Cheese.
Somebody had an iPhone and they go, oh, look, we're already on the internet. And there were pictures of us filming from 10 minutes before.
Are you guys excited about the film? Does anybody know what it is? I told them
Cheese.
Cheese.
It's called Cheese. We're in New York.
This is New York.
So that's the way it should be done.
In this scene, I'd like the 5 of you to create your own dialogue.
You know what was that thing? What was it? You're not injured, you gotta keep moving, man. Let's go. Let's go, people, let's go.
Okay, so here we are in Downey Studios in Los Angeles. I think they did a really good job with this set. I believe it. I hope that you believe it at home. DJ, do you believe it?
It almost looks real to me.
Almost. It feels real, like the wind.
Some of the buildings feel too high.
That's real Manhattan behind me. That's real Brooklyn over there. And this is not green screen. This is reality. This is the Brooklyn Bridge.
We took our cameras on the bridge and we were able to get much more than we thought we were able to get. And the level of reality that brought into it, we thought, well, now the bar has just risen for the visual effects people.
Do we have any of the white ones left over? Yeah. Any of the plain ones?
We figured they wouldn't shoot themselves running in there because it made no sense, but we said, otherwise we won't know where we are. So Matt and I just took turns running, okay, you do it now. Okay, now you do it. Okay, now do it smoother. Now do it shakier. Just so we'd have some options. We got inside the thing and we had this whole thing set up where there was a little bit of light coming from one end, they were closer to the other end. It was getting to be dawn.
It killed my brother, Jason Hawkins. It killed my best friend, Hudson Platt, and our friend, Marlena Diamond. The military has begun bombing the creature, and we're caught in the middle.
The collapse didn't work in New York, and then you see a brick hit the guy's head. It just looks like the Three Stooges. You want to hear like boink.
Dad, don't look out there. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Take 3.
Matt goes, you know what? Let's just bring Michael and Odette out, give them the camera, and just start throwing stuff on them. And as the rubble started piling up, we had this daylight coming through the end of the tunnel, and the Grips had built this big black that they pulled up from the top of the bridge, like the rubble was just covering them.
Last hours of shooting. We're in Beth's apartment, for real, just off south side of the park. We had to come in this morning, take all the belongings of the owners out, bring our stuff in, dress it, be out by about 6 p.m. Came back about half an hour ago, and now we shoot.
There they are. That's great. That's cool. This is great. All right.
We got it?
We got it.
That's a wrap, gang. That's a wrap. From Principal Photography. Great work, everybody.
That's a wrap. Oh, strange. Actually, it feels weird. Pretty good.
The first scene that we shot of Principal was the last scene in the movie. This is our last day, and we just shot the very first scene. Any place along the way, we had such a tight schedule, and it was such a short prep, and yet so exciting, and I always was hoping that the chaos of what we were doing would like inform the movie and be like the chaos that they experienced that night.
There have been many, many monster movies. There's never been a monster movie done in this style, and it ends up being an experience that's very, very different, and hopefully we'll feel that way.
You feel like you're a part of the movie as opposed to being an outsider. I mean, you really feel like you're going through this experience with these people.
Enjoy it, America.
If I were a kid and I saw this movie, I'd be empowered and excited to go make movies like this of my own. And I can't wait to see what Matt Reeves and J.J. Abrams have brought to the next generation of filmmakers.